Hello, welcome to another episode of Blind Hope with Rich. That's right, I'm Rich. Only in name, only in name. Anyways, I wanted to talk today about uh, when it feels like disaster strikes. You know, um, these are the kind of things that, events that are unexpected, um, things that, you don't recognize or heading your way. They just suddenly a boulder drops in your lap, and you're like, "Oh boy!" You know. Um, I'll give you an example. Today, boy, I had a I had a pretty good sized rock land in my lap that I uh, I was not feeling real good about. I thought, no, this can't be right. So I've been talking with you guys, about how I had my eye removed, and I got a date now, May 27th, to have the prosthetic eye, sized and everything for my eye socket. And, you know, and then, it was all great. And then the bad stuff, no, not bad, the things that created some unhappy feelings came up. They said, we don't take insurance anymore. You don't take insurance? And nope, they don't. They said, I will need $4,500 front for them to have do it's a day event. And they said they need the $4,500. And I was just like, okay. And I said, well, you know, maybe that'll be worth it for a custom eye. And I was like, and then the lady says, well, I talked to, the ocularist about doing a custom eye. And he doesn't do that anymore. It's just you get an iris, you get the pupil, basic eye, and it's supposed to match your other eye, but that doesn't work for me because my other eye, it's it's not right. There's calcium and mineral buildup on the front of the eye, and so you can't see the blue of my eyes, and it's not even the blue it was when I was younger. It's all the surgeries and all the stuff that's went on, it's turned kind of dark. So I'm I was bummed out about they don't do custom eyes because I was for weeks I've been talking to everybody about what kind of eye do you think? What kind of eye do you think I have to get? Yeah, and I had all sorts of things being thrown to me, and I'm just like, which one should I choose? Because there was a lot of good ideas. Anyways, I uh, I feel like maybe $4,500 is a little steep for me to do the custom eye because I mean it's going to be just kind of a basic eye. So I'm not real happy about that, and I was bummed out, and I was disappointed, and I was frustrated, and I felt the feelings, and then I realized maybe it's just now's not the time, because coming up with $4,500 in just over a month when I got other irons in the fire, it's just not on my I can't fit it on my financial agenda. So that's okay. I can get myself some cool or better sunglasses. These gas station ones are getting a little old. I can get myself a variety. I found out of eye patches. There's some more fun for me because I'd like to get some, find some crazy ones so I can uh, excuse me, like to get some crazy eye patches, to make people smile, because I deal with the public a lot. So I want to get some eye patches, yeah, we'll go that route. So maybe that's what's in the cards for me. We'll see what develops or what doesn't develop. It's okay. It's not something that I have to let, it's something that I can get this freaking thing that fell in my lap, getting this kind of news. I can move past it. I gave myself, okay, feel the disappointment, feel the frustration, feel the, sadness that, it ain't working out like you thought it would, you know, because, these people are telling me all these things. And, so I thought, we're good to go. But for some reason, didn't work out that way. So we'll see what the future brings for us. I'm okay with it. Like I said, I gave myself the time to feel my feelings and, the negative ones. And that was it. Moving on, you know. I got things coming up that I'm going to look forward to. I got some challenges, I'm going to be working on at work, trying to, uh, help establish um, a more mellow, more stable environment at one of the offices I work in, because they feel like there's a negative atmosphere or tension. And okay, so I'm, meeting with each of my staff and, you know, asking them, hey, how you feel you're doing? What's going on? Having any concerns with things at work or other people? And, I'm getting answers. And then me and the owner will, sit down and brainstorm this and, and see what we can come up to create that stable environment, to make people feel like it's less tense. Because it is. It can be rough if you're not in a happy environment. You feel like it's negative or you feel like there's tension in it. That ain't going to make your day worth a darn. You're not going to be happy. So, yeah, we're going to see if we can fix that. I didn't know until just a little while, a couple days ago, that I was going to be doing that. So, surprise! It's okay. It's not a big deal to me. It really ain't. I thought, oh my gosh, how am I going to go about doing this? And I was just like, you're just going to go talk to people and see what they're feeling, and see what is challenging them, or frustrating them, or maybe what's making them happy. And, so I'm okay with it. I thought, initially that was a big undertaking for me, and it's not. It's just really about listening, and then trying to find solutions. Because, like I've said in many of my different other videos, that being the solution, it brings you happiness. Being in the problem, hmm, that ain't going to be happy. So we're going to work on that and get that taken care of at work. But there's other things in all our lives. It feels like disaster has struck. Oh my goodness. It's something that's pretty powerful. You know, it could be family pet passing away. Some of us, myself included, are extreme. Those are my four-legged kids. I got two cats and a miniature Dachshund, and those little guys they are my children. And something happened to them. It breaks my heart. You know, so I try and take excellent care of them, and when I take care of them, they take care of me. I mean, in reality, I feed them and make sure they clean litter boxes, and the dog goes out and the potty comes in and gets treats, and everybody's, they're all happy and, liking being here, not trying to, crawl out the window or, well, I have one cat that I think he let himself outside and can't get him convinced that he can let himself in one of the windows we have. I'll keep trying. But anyways, it's things like that, Um, other things, disaster strikes, um, a, a relationship, a breakup, something doesn't work out, and you and this other person that you were with, y'all break up. Makes your heart hurt. Makes you sad. Makes you depressed. What can you do? What can you do? It depends on the situation, honestly. I mean, maybe talking again at another time with this person, you guys can find, be calmed down and find love some level ground and talk things through and see what each other is feeling. Don't accuse people of doing things. Just say, feel like, you know, this is going on. And let them, don't accuse them of things, but just explain that it's what you're feeling, you know. Other things, it can be like somebody, a loved one passes away. That's a major freaking disaster strike sometimes. Sometimes it's people are relieved because, the loved one was suffering for so long, and it's a relief, that they finally have passed on and they're at peace now. It kind of depends, but, these kinds of things come up in our lives and we have to figure out how do we get through, you know. Some of us get stuck for a while, and we're just in this pit of despair and this hopelessness and these negative feelings are just swimming all around us. And we got to find out what can we do to get out of that. One step at a time. That's all you got to do. Take one step at a time. You don't have to leap out of there. You just take one step at a time. You reach out. You say, "Hey, I'm hurting." I mean, I know, guys. I know you guys don't want to say, "Hey, you're hurting or you're feeling in your feelings," because some guys are very prideful and don't want to, let other people know that, I got some feelings and they're hurting. And I could use somebody to talk to. It helps. It really does. Find a close friend and, share the pain that you're experiencing. You know, if maybe you need to go to a counselor and talk to them about it. Sometimes maybe you need to get active and get your mind refocused so that you can, get up out of that pit and off you go. It's you got to think about this though. If you're not taking action in some form, I mean, a phone call, exercising, talking to other people, um, you know, uh, not, eating depression because you're depressed or sad. Yeah, tubs of ice cream, not recommended. I mean, I know they're good, but not the best idea. You know, then you'll feel bad. I gained 5 pounds. Oh my God. You know, so you got to get in the solution. You got to see what steps have to be done. You got to talk to some people, and maybe they have experienced what you're, experiencing when the disaster has struck you. You're like, oh, I need to call someone. Because the person might be a go-to friend or go-to relative or something. And they're like, okay, okay, tell me what's going on, and they let you share, and you get it out of your head, and you hear yourself saying this, and sometimes it creates you the ability for you to come up with your own solution. Oh, now that I say that out loud, it makes sense. I should be doing this. Other people, might give you some suggestions because they've experienced, you know. But one way or another, dwelling and letting this disaster, or this bad moment, if you want to call it that, if you let it engulf you, if you let it consume you, it ain't going to work. You're going to have a battle like no other to get out of that. If you don't take action and get on it, move forward. Don't sit there, one foot in front of the other, move forward. And you can get past this difficult time in your life because, you remember, we want to stay in the positive. And staying in the positive means staying in the solution, right? So we want to be positive even when we have some tough times. You know, we got to try and do some stuff to lift our emotions up. Yes, it's important to feel, some of these feelings, you know, but does that mean you need to feel that same feeling for a month? I say no, you don't. You need to feel it, you need to face it, you need to walk through it, you know. And if there's this though, some people don't know how. How am I going to face that? How am I going to walk through that? Because they're just so hurt or scared or have so much, doubt. That's when you get some help. That's when you call. That's when you go see somebody. That's when you don't try and do it by yourself. It's not always easy enough that somebody can just pop, there's a solution. Let me get on it. Some of these things that hit us in life are just too big. I mean, I would love to say that I'm a, strong enough dude that I can just take on whatever hits me. Nah, I'd be lying to you if all y'all, if I was to say something like that. That ain't the reality of my life. I faced, in my past, a lot of challenges. I don't think in any of those challenges I had to do it alone. I may have tried or chose to do it alone. I didn't have to, though. It's simpler if you have somebody that can help you. If it's not somebody, maybe you can call an agency and get the resources you need to get through. Maybe it's a financial hardship. You just need a little something to help you get over that edge, and then there's smooth sailing. It can happen, which means you have to reach out. And maybe that's what this all ought to be about, is us reaching out and connecting with somebody else, or some agency, or some group, or something, instead of letting us get hit with this pile of bricks and stuff, and we're just like, oh my god, this is too much for me. And you reach out to somebody, there's people helping you take these bricks off of you, relieving you of some of this, because they're helping you, they're supporting you, they're telling you, hey, you might try this, or you might reach out to this agency, or you might, something that'll help you get through this dark spot. You have to figure out what it's going to take, though, because it varies from person to person. Some people are stubborn. I've been there. I am sometimes. Get stubborn and I want to do it myself. All right. I'm not the most well trained person at being blind. I need more training. And right now, that also is a kind of a challenge that hit me, because before it used to be my wife could take me up on her days off during the week because her job would, have her working weekends every other week, sometimes more. But now she's got this ideal job that's pays better, that has, she does her own thing, and it's Monday through Friday. She doesn't have to work any weekends anymore, which, not trying to be sound and selfish, but my ride just disappeared to the school that trains me and all this stuff. What do I got to do? What do I got to do that I've been sharing with you guys? I got to reach out. Do I know who to reach out to? I do. I reach out to my vocational rehabilitation counselor who has me set up to do this trainings and has gotten me, assistive technology devices and all this stuff. I need to reach out to her and say, hey, this is what's going on. See what they say. And, maybe I'll have a solution right then and there. All I had to do was reach out. And that freaking pile of rocks is off me. You know, that's one thing. I mean, that's something just for me that I have to deal with, and I wish I could take the time off work and go and, they have it set up to where a lot of the people that are blind that are getting this training, they're all staying in this one, nice hotel, but they have trouble, uh, they're trying to learn it all, and it's challenging. So, what do they do? That's it. What do they do? Well, they learn how to live through the problems. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'm going to reach out, and that's my first step. You know, how am I going to, go through other disasters that, are coming or that are sitting here now? You know, I don't know. But am I going to sit here every day and, oh, poor me, poor me, poor me? You know, I'm somebody that's a recovering addict. If I keep doing the poor me, poor me, poor me line, some of you have heard this before. I know that are in recovery. It'll end up eventually with pour me another drink, and then me being on this road of success and moving forward with my life in a positive manner, it will just go. I'll be going all over the place. I'll start using again, and I won't stop. And that ain't going to be it. That is not something that I allow myself to even think of as an option. It's a thought that is faulty and part of, what I got going on with me. So, nah, it won't. But anyways, what else can we think of? I mean, you guys surely can think of, or have experienced some really difficult times. How do I get to an appointment? How do I, how do I get across town? How do I get groceries when I have no car to haul them in? I mean, there's all these things that happen that just hit us out of nowhere, and man, it makes it tough. But we still have to do it. We still have to put one foot in front of the other. We have to keep moving forward. I mean, that's what has to happen. So, anyways, I don't have a lot else today. I wanted to touch on this because I had that uh, rocks hit me today. Um, at work, and then with the prosthetic eye. I had a couple things hit me today, and I thought, we need to talk about how we get through these things that just hit us out of nowhere. And the biggest thing I think is, we need to feel it, we need to face it, but we don't have to do any of it alone. Those I want are the things I want you to keep in mind when something hits you guys, big or small, you, you're going to have to face it. You're going to have to feel your way through it because you got to get through it. You can't just sit there and wait for it to go away because one, it might not, it's probably not going to go away. It'll probably get bigger. So you have to face it and deal with that. And then ask for help. Let me help you get through this. This is what I did. You know, when I had this happen to me, you know, ask for help. Do what you need to do to keep your happy, positive mind. That's what I want for us all to have. Yeah, we're not going to have it 100% of the time. That's not my expectation. I have no expectation of that ever being possible. But I can be happy majority of the time. You know, I've said it, I think one of my first videos I did. We don't have to wait for a good day to be happy. We can choose to be happy. Like I am right now, I'm feeling pretty good. You know, even though I got some freaking rough news, even though I had a rough day at work, I'm still feeling pretty good because it's going to work out exactly how it's supposed to. Not be the way I want it to, but it's going to work out and it's going to be okay as long as I keep moving forward, as long as I don't bottle it all up in my head. Anyways, well, I want y'all give me some comments. Let me know what you think about, how you guys deal with, when you get hit with a disaster strikes, that you didn't know was heading your direction. Let me know. Share some of that stuff with me. I want to know. I'm interested, honestly. Don't you don't have to just. I love the fact that you all, are checking out the videos. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I definitely appreciate that. But I love the views, and share some comments. Also, on a side note, if anybody, guys or gals, it's not, not gender specific, are interested in makeup, check out my wife's YouTube channel at Just Another Beauty Guru. Just Another Beauty Guru. Thought I said that wrong for a second. Anyways, my wife does some amazing stuff with makeup. I mean, and she's testing out new stuff all the time. Letting you know, hey, this works great. It has, or it, sucks. Don't get it. Or it's too expensive. It's not worth the price. But she'll tell you all sorts of things about the makeup. I mean, I can't believe that. How much she knows and how good she is with it. It's a bummer that I can't see the makeup she does because it's when we were together, I used to be able to see it and it was really good. So, anyways, this is Rich. Talk to you all next week. Thank you for watching the video. Bye bye.